This is Andrew from cardrunners.com doing a video for Card Player. Today I'm playing 2-4 no limit on full tilt poker. I've played some hands with both Peanut Man and Suited Magic. Peanut Man is down a decent amount of money. Playing with him in Suited Magic is a pretty good player, and he's up a reasonable amount. So both things I'll keep in mind. I prefer having the bad player, to my left opposed to having a good player to my left. So my position on the table right now is pretty good. And the reason for that is you just don't want to have a good player to your left because he's going to be making decisions after you on a lot of the hands. And when he has position, that puts you in a bad spot because he can take pots away from you and basically just outplay you. So with the way it is right now, I'll have position on Suited Magic in a few of the hands, and that's definitely to my advantage. So already seeing a big pot play out right here. Just a standard continuation bet made by Peanut Man, and Suited Magic's gone ahead and raised it up. And Suited Magic's he's an aggressive player, but he's not one that gets too out of line. So I would think he probably had a pretty good hand in that position. King 7 off under the gun. The table is 5-handed, but you never want to be playing any type of hand like that, even if it was suited. No, so far the table's playing pretty fast. People raising a lot of hands. The way that the table's playing should dictate, what type of hands you play, how you play. When the table's raising a lot of hands, I'll be more apt to go ahead and re-raise with maybe weaker hands and try and keep the people in line, because if you just let them run over the table, it's going to put you in a bad spot, and it's going to let them win more pots than they should be winning. So Peanut Man made a pot-sized bet on the river there. I would think on that board most of the time when it checks around him and he bets pot like that, he's going to have the ace. And the other guy called with just a queen. Probably not the best call, though. It's tough to lay down when you have a full house, even if it's not the best full house on the board. So I folded an ace-6 under the gun right there. It's suited, but that's just too weak of a hand. You're going to find yourself in a lot of difficult situations if you're playing a weak ace under the gun, because everyone at the table is going to have position on you, except for the blinds, of course. And it's just tough to know if you're ahead when you have a small ace, because you'll hit the ace, and other people be in the pile with bigger aces, and it's tough to know whether your ace is good or not. The general strategy when you're playing a limit like a mid limit 1-2, 2-4 is you just want to play tight, put yourself in good positions, or put yourself in a good spot when you're in position. With pretty reasonable cards. A lot of people think you need to be mixing it up, playing a lot of hands, and that's just not true, especially when you're playing the mid limits. At the higher limits, sometimes you need to mix it up more because your opponents, they're more observant and they're better players. But when you're playing down here, most of the players are pretty straightforward or weak players, and you're going to do just fine playing a straightforward strategy. So like I said, the table, a lot of action going on. We got another pretty big pot brewing here with fairly big size bet on the river. Now, when Peace Train goes ahead and check raises the river here, especially when the board is paired like this and the straight is made, I don't think he's bluffing here too often. Hap Tizzle made a pretty strong bet, betting about 3/4 of the pot on the river. So with everything in mind there, I'm pretty sure Peace Train had a big hand. I got a pair of 9s here in the small blind. This is the type of hand where when I see position raises like this, I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet most of the time. And when I'm out of position, I like raise a little bit more than pot, so I'm going to make it 54 here. And the reason for that is, it's just difficult to play out of position, so you want to make sure these people aren't entering the pot with weak hands and using their position to their advantage just to take the pot away from her. So I was able to just take it down pre-flop there. That's the type of spot where when the table's playing fast like it is, I'll raise some weaker hands. A hand like an ace-jack or even maybe an ace-10 suited. just to try and keep the people in position in line. When you see someone like Peace Train raising in the cutoff, his range of hands that he could be raising here is just so wide that you got to think that Hap Tizzle, when he three bets him here, knows that, and so his range is probably fairly wide as well. That's just the way the games are playing these days, and you have to keep that in mind. 6 months to a year ago, people weren't raising as many speculative hands, so if somebody raised in position, generally they had a stronger hand than they do now, and when someone three bet out of the blinds, usually they weren't just doing it with air, whereas you see that a lot these days. On the flip side, though, most people still will play reasonable hands when they're in real early position. I mean, some people, the real loose players will be raising up weak hands, but I would say the majority of people, you should generally give them some credit when you see them raising under the gun. So, like when you saw Peace Train raise that last hand, I would say his range isn't incredibly wide. He's probably got a pretty reasonable hand there. A queen 10 off in the big blind can be tricky because it's going to be tempting to play the hand, but since you're going to be out of position, depending how it plays out, most of the time you're probably going to want to get away from it. Now, when someone just raises on the button like this, generally I'm just going to call and see a flop, but you got to proceed with caution because it's a trouble hand and you're playing it out of position. So right here I flopped a straight draw. The guy who raised on the button's pretty aggressive, so this is a good spot to go ahead and go for a check raise. And he checked behind, so what I'm going to do right here is, he probably doesn't have anything. I'll make a bet out on the turn, and I'm probably going to take it down. It's a semi-bluff here, but it's a good spot to go ahead and semi-bluff. Because a lot of times if I have like a king, I'd check the flop to him since he was the pre-flop raiser, and even a jack, and he would know that, so when I go ahead and bet out the turn, I can basically represent a king or a jack and get him to fold out whatever he has. So like I said, Suited Magic is somewhat of a tight player. He's aggressive, but he doesn't play a ton of hands. So when you see him raising under the gun +1 here, I would say he probably has a pretty strong hand. A lot of times when it's full to me on the button, I'll open up with fairly weak holdings. But a hand like that, I'm just never going to be opening. The type of hand, when I say fairly weak, like maybe a 5-7 off would be one of the weaker hands if it's fold to me that I would raise on the button. Now it's fold around to me here in the cutoff with the 6-4 suited. This is a spot where I like to go ahead and raise it up. But if Peace Train does come ahead and raise in front of me, I'll probably just fold the hand. Really don't like calling raises with suited connectors. It puts you in bad spots a lot of the time. If I'm going to be playing suited connector, they're not bad cards to play and people like to play them, but I think you're better off being the one coming in for the raise rather than calling a raise with them. So I didn't really hit the flop. I do have a gut shot. Just going to make a standard continuation bet. I do have some outs if I get